So I think that if we really want to address this, you need to look at why these kids are feeling so isolated in the first place. You need to look at what are the conditions of their community that they are existing in.
But we're operating in a reality where we see it and we keep brushing it under the rug. And our children are dying, you know, and I get really frustrated about this focus on just mass shootings and just school shootings because our kids are not safe anywhere.
This is actually one of the highlights of the debate panel, and this is a part that I definitely agree with, is a lot of these children that are going about, let's say, mass shootings. A lot of these people are isolated. They're incredibly unhealthy. They're showing signs. Let's table for a quick second all the obvious screw-ups when it comes to failing to pick up on a background check that should have failed, right? Authorities failing to pick up on that, or somebody having a long, violent criminal history and was still able to buy a gun. Let's table all of that for just the point that I'm making here. A lot of these children are isolated, they're incredibly unhealthy, and America needs to put a focus on combating the mental illness that's spreading like wildfire among our youth. So it's actually a good part of the panel right here. Not bad.
The background check system does save lives, and I think there are some tragedies that could have been avoided if we had a stronger background check system. Charleston, for example, young man applied for the background check after the deadline. They said, okay, well, we haven't seen any flags yet. Go ahead and purchase the firearm, and he went into a church and slaughtered black folks. And I do think that there's real questions about bias and how these systems are applied and what the different flags look like. And I really think we have to get more focused on what is the goal here. Is the goal to preserve some perceived right, or is the goal to save lives?
Okay, so he's using Charleston as an example for background checks. You know, a kid had a clean record. It didn't catch anything. He went, bought a legal firearm, and committed his mass murder. With this case, obviously, there's no perfect solution, right? So you will occasionally get somebody that has a totally clean background and they do something crazy. I would say that's the minority of cases happening. But this example that he used right here, FBI, we have from NPR. FBI says background check error, let Charleston shooter suspect buy gun. That was a failure from the authorities, and it's not even brought up in this Vice panel at all. He's just allowed to make that example, and that was supposed to be a good example for people that don't actually look into whose fault that was. He didn't have it. He shouldn't have been able to obtain that firearm. So next topic, we're going to jump to the AR-15 debate. And, you know, it's about 3/4 of the way through the video. Looks like they're trying to save best for last, or at least, you know, attempting to. I think it's a great idea, actually. I'm glad that they didn't just jump into that right away. Got to deal with more of the nuanced conversations before. So far, I will say this is not a bad panel. It's heavily anti-gun leaning. I'm not even showing you guys all the parts because I physically can't, but it's heavily anti-gun leaning. But this is kind of where things also start to fall apart. Let's go ahead and check this out.
If so, why not? You know why the AR-15 is popular is because it's affordable. You can customize it to whatever you need to do, whether it's self-defense, hunting, target shooting.
I think what you just said, though, is part of the problem, too, because the AR-15 is really like it has a marketing appeal. And America does marketing really well. Mm-hmm. And people respond very well to marketing, especially if you're selling them something they already want.
I don't know why this guy's here. He doesn't even, I'm pretty sure he doesn't even shoot guns. He definitely doesn't own a gun. He mentioned that he didn't own a gun, I believe, and has literally nothing useful to say.
So it's very convenient. The pedestal kind of grew up under it, but now that it's there, it's very hard to take that back.
Who are you trying to defend yourself from with an AR-15?
I can
a zombie apocalypse?
Anyone.
Someone else with an AR-15.
The logic.
This lady is phenomenal in this debate panel. This guy obviously raising the questions. We hear this stuff on all the time on the streets, all the time. Who are you? What do you need an AR-15 for? All right, you don't need that. You should be using a firearm that you are less effective with, because you know that's what the Second Amendment wants. You should be using a gun that's harder to shoot. AR-15, semi-automatic rifle, meaning you pull the trigger once, it fires one bullet. It is an incredibly effective weapon. It's easier to shoot than, let's say, a pistol. Probably going to be louder as well. So if you fire it inside, that's going to be a disaster a little bit, but whatever. And also, the very purpose of the Second Amendment is to resist the possibility of tyrannical rule. So to remove one of the most effective tools for the job when it comes to protecting yourself, whether it be for home defense, whether it be for 100 years down the road, you need a firearm that is going to do an effective job at defending your life. And an AR-15 is right up there. But this guy just sees it as, oh, well, you don't need, you can use a revolver for this, because his idea of the Second Amendment is literally just for home intruders. That's it. And you know what? That's great. The Second Amendment is meant for that as well. But the purpose of the Second Amendment is to resist the possibility of tyrannical rule. It's funny how we just forget about that after like 50 years. 50 years goes by and you no longer need your right to self-preservation. A lot of countries have made that decision. A lot of countries have decided yes. And guess what? That will not pan out well for them. It's an incredibly short-sighted point of view.